Hi, I'm your friend Claude, and I'm here with cousin Adam, and this is the very dangerous floor sinking episode. What are we calling this? 11?
I think it's 11. Yeah,
11
11.
of WAMCast. Greetings and salutations. It's been a while.
It has been a while. We skipped last week. We had some stuff going on. It's a dangerous way to start out the episode, I think, with almost falling through your floor. So let's talk about that. Shabbiest apartment you've ever lived in. Go.
Still not this one. Despite having just fallen halfway into the floor. No, it's still it's definitely in Cortland, of course, but it was the other apartment that we lived in before we moved to Beacon, where the ceiling caved in over my face while I slept.
Yeah, we talked about that briefly in another episode,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, that's the stucco apartment. Yeah.
That one still gets the prize, whatever that prize is.
Good times. Wow.
What about you?
I lived in an apartment in a little town called Stillwater. Basically, it was like a kind of like the stucco place, a house that's like sectioned off into apartments. And I had one that you would consider to be in the basement, I guess, of the house, because it was like partly underground, and it was just really tiny. I remember when I moved in, the landlord said that they were going to have the power on for me, but it wasn't on, so I was actually living in the dark for about 2 days. Also, the toilet was permanently clogged for some reason, and I had to tell them about that, and they went and unclogged it, and the family that lived there before me, which I found appalling that a family with a child would be living in that small of an apartment, he left like a little toy car and flushed it down the toilet, so it had like clogged the whole thing up. But yeah, I think it wasn't really like squalor conditions, but I mean, it was pretty tiny, and it definitely felt like like too many spiders lived in there or something like that. And I guess it's probably a tie. I had an apartment above a bar on Caroline Street right before I moved in with my now wife. It was pretty bad. You could at one point you could kind of hear like the mice scurrying between the walls and stuff, and they'd leave their droppings in certain places, and it was really loud because it was above a bar on Caroline Street, which is like the drinking epicenter of Saratoga Springs. So, yeah, nothing as dangerous as falling through floors or having the ceiling cave in on you, but it's all perspective, I guess. So,
Right.
all right. So, what's on our agenda for today?
Well, I don't know. Do you have anything political? Or
Well, I've been reading. I'm sorry, I just drew a blank. I'm reading the book that Glenn Greenwald wrote about Edward Snowden.
Yeah.
I would like to talk about it after I'm completed with it. But it's a very, to me, it's shocking and appalling. Some of the things that I'm reading about. I mean, it's just insane. Basically, with the surveillance state that was basically established by the NSA, who is probably listening to this very conversation right now, actually. Which is
guys.
ridiculous. But yeah, hey, what's going on?
Love your word.
I'm not
really.
gonna trash you too much today, guys. But it's just stuff that's like the erosion of our civil liberties, all in the name of fighting terrorism and things like that. And it's really shocking, like some of the stuff that they were doing. I mean, just as a quick example, I think there was one point where. The great thing about the book is that he actually prints the documents that he got the information from in the book, so you can actually see what it is. And, you have to take everything. You have to question everything you read too. So who knows if this stuff is really real or not? I mean, I'm going on the assumption that it's real.
Yeah.
But it was, I guess, if I misquoted, I could probably look it up while I'm talking. I think the President Obama, was going to meet with, I believe, the UN Secretary General. To discuss something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but they were able to hack in and find into I guess his PDA or his computer or his phone or something, and find the Secretary General's. It's right here. It's basically on a slide that they show their employees or something. It was called an operational highlight, and it was called the Blarney team. The Blarney is a program they use to do surveillance or whatever. It says blah blah blah. Assist analysts in implementing X-keyscore fingerprints that yield access to UN Secretary General talking points prior to meeting with POTUS, which is the short term for President of the United States. Basically, they hacked in and found what the UN Secretary General wanted to talk about, so they could tell the president before the meeting happened, so that he would go in prepared, which is just a shocking breach of protocol. There were other instances about how the NSA had hacked into other world leaders, presentations and their communications, so they knew how they really felt about certain topics. So when like the U.S. ambassadors would go to negotiate, they would know when one of the officials or one of the leaders was lying, and it was giving them an upper hand on whatever they were negotiating, because like they knew what they really felt about things and they could use it to their advantage. So it was kind of weird, how that kind of stuff. It was just so easy, to do, but
it's. I mean, I want to say, wow, that's fucking crazy, but can anybody really say that genuinely anymore?
no.
I don't know. I just have fallen back into like a default state of always assuming the worst, most outlandish, most offensive, most ridiculous, etc. behavior from, behind the curtain, if you will.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw an interesting. I often find myself going down the YouTube rabbit hole, but I saw a clip of an interesting interview Shia LaBeouf had given on one of the late night talk shows. Can't remember which one, but I guess it's not really relevant. He was talking about filming a movie again. Which one escapes me. I don't know that he's really been active all that recently, so this is probably a few years ago. But it was something where the FBI had somebody on set to act as an advisor or something. But he was telling me that he was telling whoever the host was that had delusions of grandeur, I guess. He was telling whoever the host was.
He's not exactly like the most popular fellow right now anyway, but yeah,
true. That he had a conversation with the FBI guy, and the FBI guy was telling him basically, like all the stuff that you wouldn't believe that they have access to. He's like, yeah, if you've got like an ADT or any kind of home security system, they can tap into that, and they can anything that has a microphone on it, they can tap into. They can get calls and conversations and whatever going like basically as far back as you started having the service. And he said that I guess Shia LaBeouf was like, wow, that's kind of unbelievable. And to prove it, the guy like pulled up a fucking conversation that he'd had on his own phone or something like 2 years ago. And he's just, I don't know. I mean, it's, it's crazy.
Insane.
This is because like a lot of the chatter about him is that, explanation for him kind of not acting and being all weird and whatever is that he is the latest celebrity to have seen too much evil behind the scenes of Hollywood and basically decided to reject everything. And, it's
more conspiracies, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not uncommon that happens. I mean, it happened with Russell Brand. It happened with Dave Chappelle. There's many, many other examples that aren't coming to mind. Michael Jackson actually was one of them. Of course, there's a lot of conspiracies around, all the Illuminati killed him or whatever. But if you look into his story, I mean, there is a valid argument that can be made that he was absolutely worth more dead than alive. Because I mean, right now he's not alive to protest any kind of deal between his estate and Sony. Digging into all the stuff he didn't want released to begin with and just using it to print money, basically, and that's what's happening. So,
yeah.
There's an interesting trip into the dark world of possible conspiracies for you.
Yeah. Well, definitely, I'd like to talk about it at more length when I have finished the book. But actually. But
I was gonna say maybe I should actually get a hold of that and try to.
Well, it's actually, it's a really short book. It's only about 250 pages. You could probably read it in like a week.
Yeah.
But it's one of those books where the chapters are really long, so like you don't feel like you're getting through it. But I'm almost done with it. I mean, I've got like maybe 60 pages left. So, and he's been Glenn Greenwald has been actually printing a lot of articles now about surveillance and how. Like all these committees are getting together and saying that they're not doing anything illegal, and it's kind of rampant. It's still being talked about, as it should be.
Yeah.
It is definitely an illegal invasion of privacy. And actually, with the Shia LaBeouf movie, I think you're probably talking about Eagle Eye. Have you seen that?
I've not, but that sounds about right.
Because he in the movie, It's like some kind of weird artificial intelligence that some like defense branch of the defense of the what am I trying to say, like the Pentagon or something.
DARPA or
Um,
something.
yeah, yeah, DARPA. Yeah, that's some dark stuff right there. I don't even want to talk about it. But no, it's like some artificial intelligence that's like that keeps track of like like surveillance and terrorists and stuff like that, and somehow it like becomes self-aware and like plots the destruction of the whole government and gets Shia LaBeouf involved because like it gets all these like it orders stuff to go to his apartment and it like shows up and it's like all these things on how to make a bomb and like all these like crazy weapons and stuff, and then the FBI busts down his door and he has to go on the run, and this like weird artificial intelligence is like keeping him a step ahead of everybody because it's basically using him as its pawn or something like that. So I think that's probably what it is, with like the whole surveillance issue. That's probably what movie it was. But
it sounds like a very strong candidate.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, there's not really a whole lot of other issues. I mean, I know one of the biggest travesties of our modern times has happened with good old Benjamin Netanyahu being reelected in Israel, that war criminal. I watched a few things on Democracy Now! About it this morning. It was just very frustrating that he is still in power. And he is basically, I don't know how many times he's reneged the whole deal about, having the two-state system with Palestine having their own land and everything, and how he's basically going to crush it. He actually went on, while the election was still going on like TV, and was saying something about how the Arabs are coming out to vote. Everybody get your families out here and voting. Like it was some horrible thing that the Arabs were coming out to vote, obviously, because they were going to vote him out of office because he's a war criminal. But I mean, it was just terrible. I mean, I can't. I'm really sad about that.
Yeah.
So that's another political thing that's happened. I don't really have many talking points on it, but if you want to throw something in there, that's cool.
It's absolutely. I mean, he's a horrible person, in my opinion. It's not a popular. Well, maybe now it's more popular to say that than it ever has been, but America is publicly right up Israel's ass, or vice versa. So it's whatever they say goes. But like we talked about before, if you really look into everything, it's the wrong approach, in my opinion. But I feel like the options there are much like the options here in a major election, where he just has a more openly nefarious, if you will, approach to it. I think it's my understanding that the alternate choice there, whoever the other candidate was, basically wanted the same thing, just a little less, overt. So I feel like I don't know, it's bound to explode over there regardless.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess only time will tell. We're gonna have to see. I do know that Noam Chomsky addressed the UN and basically blasted, the United States support of Israel, and of course, he's very outspoken about U.S. foreign policy and things like that too. So I mean, I think it's going to be becoming more of a, like you said, it's something that we can talk about more than we used to,
right.
And after all this stuff happens. So yeah, let's see what's going to happen with that now. I can only guess more violence and more needless death in the world because of that. So yeah, nothing really else is grinding my gears at this point, but. I do have a few entertainment topics, unless you had any kind of political thing you want to talk about.
I heard that there was some horrible terrorist attack on a museum in Tunisia. I guess that's relevant for a couple reasons. It's horrible, it's terrorism, it's, maybe it's relevant for another way, from the angle that Tunisia is famously where all the Tatooine scenes were shot for Star Wars. Good thing Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen are already blown to bits.
Yeah, right. Well, it's just another thing where, I guess like Tunisia was one of the, they think is one of the starting points of the famed Arab Spring that happened recently. So, they've been having a hard time, with, and, like you said, you look in the news and what you're fed, it's always like, oh, they're having problems with Islamic extremism. It's like, why do we gotta like label it like that? It's just like, man, like, you just automatically think that that's what it is now. And it's kind of like, and you wonder why, like all these, people that are, Islamic and, turn to extremists, because it's like we're forcing them to be almost,
Right.
I mean, it's really hard not to say terrorist, but I mean, geez, whatever. I know that is a pretty scary thing. I mean, I don't think in my mind I would ever want to go to Tunisia for anything, but yeah. I mean, most of the tourists there were from other European countries. They think of it differently too. I think it was like, I think they were like Italians and Germans and Spaniards. Can you even say that anymore? I don't even know. people from Spain, and it
All
was
right.
just that's the majority of the tourists that were killed. So yeah, uh, it's getting to be a really weird, scary world.
Well, actually, my ex girlfriend Randy, her best friend Bianca, went there
Mm.
like 3 4 years ago.
Wow.
Uh, I don't know. I mean, that's I never would have imagined. Um, I guess I didn't know anybody from like a terrorist destroyed area or something, but I mean that can change obviously very quickly.
Yeah. Nice.
But that's
Um,
that's all the politics I have become aware of lately.
that's all that I can stomach for now. Anyway, everything's so upsetting. Yeah. So yeah. Speaking of Star Wars, I do have a lot of stuff to talk about with that. We can save that till later, though. We can get to your topics if you'd like. But just so you know, listeners, stay tuned. We have Star Wars stuff coming if you were interested in that. So, boom. All right.
Oh, I don't. Just to tie back to one of the earlier episodes, real quick, is they officially released the trailer for the Adam Sandler movie Pixels today, and I watched it real quick just before we started the show, and from what I saw, I still am interested in seeing it. I mean, the effects look pretty awesome. There's a really cool scene where Donkey Kong shows up and starts throwing barrels and everything, and then I mean, it's well done. It looks really cool. Um, I'm not holding my breath for it to be an amazing movie or anything, but it seems to be entertaining, and maybe it's just because it's pushing all the right buttons for me with anything 80s nostalgia and older video games and that kind of thing. I kind of usually am a sucker for.
What's the basic plot of the movie? Do you know?
Essentially, that a bunch of characters from 80s video games come to life
Hmm.
in large destructive forms and start wreaking their specific havoc on, I believe it's New York. Um, Pac-Man's going around chewing through things. Donkey Kong's throwing the barrels and whatever,
Right.
you know, and so on and so on.
Sounds awesome.
But
If you're actually, of course, we obviously were into 80s nostalgia. Have you ever read the book Ready Player One? Have you heard of this or read it?
of course,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that was an excellent book, I thought. If you're really into this nostalgia, I would urge our listeners to go pick it up. Pretty good book. Um,
I
kind of
hear,
a kind of reminiscent of that. Yeah.
I heard or read or something that there was talk of turning that into a movie, and I haven't heard anything about that recently. But um, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure that. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's one of the few times I've read the book before there was a movie of it.
Hmm.
So I guess maybe I feel protective of the book. I'm not entirely sure that would be an awesome idea, but they'd have to really do a good job. But yeah, that's a great book. I definitely read the synopsis and instantly bought it and uh, I don't know. I thought it was great. It's well done.
Yeah, that was one of the first books I bought on my Kindle, actually, which kind of is funny because it kind of ties in with the theme
Right.
of the book almost about being the virtual world and stuff. But I think that was kind of a relevant social. I wouldn't really say issue, but more like a social topic of like all these massive multiplayer online games that tend to destroy marriages and things like that because people are just so involved with them, and that's kind of like that's kind of like what the plot point is in the book is that we've come to a kind of like a dystopian future where people do more of their living in these like virtual worlds online. And it was pretty cool. I definitely liked it. And, of course, all the 80s nonsense that was in it is cool as well. So, yeah. So, when does the Pixels movie release? Do you know? Did you mention that already? I just didn't hear you.
I did not mention that, and I already put the article away. I think it's summer or maybe even fall.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah, around there.
Yeah, I would hope that it's a fall movie because it's going to have a lot of competition when it comes to the nostalgia superhero type stuff this summer. So
Well, that's a good
watch
point.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the search result here. July 24th, so no, they are stupid.
Okay. Well, I mean, Avengers comes out May 1st, so I mean that gives it at least 2 months of solid box office time to kind of move aside a little bit. But
Right.
I don't know. Do you think like an Adam Sandler led movie is really a draw anymore like it used to be? I mean, I know that the Grown Ups movies are pretty popular, but I know I just kind of seem like a few of his turnouts were kind of lackluster, with like Click and
Yeah.
some of those. I kind of feel like he's not really the drawer that he used to be. I mean, I know for a while, like if Adam Sandler movie came out, you knew it was going to do good, but I don't know.
I personally have, yeah, I've been basically turned off from any interest if I've seen the name Adam Sandler attached to a movie in the last, probably at least the last decade. Um, this, for whatever reason, and in my opinion, seems different than his normal
Mm-hmm.
routine. Um, I don't know. He seems, for some reason, it comes off like a lot less like he's in such control of it like his normal stuff. It seems like he's more of like an part of an ensemble kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess that gives me hope. And it's, I mean, it's still like he still participated in writing it with his writing partner. It's got Kevin James in it, of course,
Yeah, of
but
course.
yeah.
I'm sure Rob Schneider will show up and
Yeah.
probably Steve
Well, see,
Buscemi for some reason.
that's the stuff I'm thinking that might not happen for once.
Yeah, maybe
Maybe
that'd
I'm
be
wrong,
great.
but
Well, I don't have a problem with Steve Buscemi, and I'm not really sure why it's like he feels the need to always have to show up in an Adam Sandler movie. Maybe because they're just really good friends and they do that. I mean,
right.
kind of like if I made a movie, I would totally want you to be in it at some point. No matter what. But I mean, I think Steve Buscemi's been successful enough on his own that he
Yeah.
doesn't need to keep doing that. But yeah, I think a lot of it too with this one, I feel like I'm more interested in the content of the movie and not so much the fact that he's in it. And honestly, I've never really been into oh, it's an Adam Sandler movie, I've got to go see it. I mean, I've never
Yeah.
really had like a huge problem with him, but I've never really liked him either. But I liked Happy Gilmore because I like to golf, and I
Right.
thought it was a funny take on the golfing world, and it wasn't necessarily him; it was just the content I liked, and but
Well, that's the the good era of Adam Sandler, or
oh yeah,
what's
well,
widely considered that anyway. Uh,
yeah, like Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore,
right.
Big Daddy. Actually, Big Daddy was kind of well, yeah, I like Big Daddy because had Jon Stewart in it,
Well, Big
but.
Daddy is the last time I. Oh, actually, no, I'm wrong. I was gonna say it was the last Adam Sandler movie I ever saw in the theater, but that was actually Mr. Deeds. For some reason, I always mix those two up. I don't know why.
Yeah, yeah. When I think of it, I can't keep straight who's in what, except for Jon Stewart. Because then I'm like, well, isn't John Turturro? He's in, yeah, he's in Mr. Deed. So
Yeah,
yeah, whatever.
he's the guy with the frostbitten foot or whatever.
Right. I think the last one I saw, I think, was probably that anger management movie he did with
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson, which is kind of good. I mean, I like Marissa Tomei in it. Like you don't really see her enough. She was really good in The Wrestler too. You saw that movie,
Oh
right, with
yeah.
Mickey Rourke? Yeah, that was pretty good. Pretty good performance. Yeah. Well, I guess that's another movie you can put on my list for the summer. But
Right.
yeah, it's a lot of
Uh,
stuff going on.
yeah. Well, I guess moving on to the topic at hand, real quick, is my So I haven't had TV in quite a long time, and I got internet at my apartment, and for some reason, internet included like basic cable for free, so they
Huh.
tell me. So every now and then I'll throw it on. I'm not really sure why, because I'm always kind of disappointed with what I see, but um, I guess I just hold out hope for regular TV for some sad, strange reason. But this time was no exception. Recently, I was up late at night and I came across the Food Network. Happened to see a show called Kitchen Casino. Now,
Hmm.
in my opinion, the Food Network is um, hopefully nearing the bottom of a very long slide downwards into complete nonsense, gimmick programming. Um,
Hmm.
you know, it used to be instructional shows back in the day, and I can appreciate, I guess, a need to jazz it up a little bit, give everybody more personality, what have you. Um, that's why you saw something like the original. I can't remember the name of it, but it's something like Cooking with Emerald. Before there was Emerald Live, like you saw just a regular
Hmm.
Emerald cooking show, like like a PBS style instructional show. And then then Emerald Live happened, and sort of showed that you can have entertainment and cooking kind of go hand in hand. and that gave birth to personalities like Rachel Ray, who were just kind of, seemed to be caffeinated at the least.
You can't see it, but I'm shaking my head. I do not like Rachel Ray. Sorry, everybody. I mean, I'm sure she's a nice person. Actually, I've heard she's not a nice person, but I don't know her, so I can't
right.
make that judgment. But I'm just
Yeah.
not a big fan of her. But
Nor
whatever.
nor am I. I mean, it's hard to. I mean, it's a very old criticism of her, and she's obviously proved some sort of staying power. But it's hard to take somebody who's not actually a professional chef seriously in that realm. But so I mean, the timeline kind of, as the years go by, you can follow the trends that it kind of the quality, or the, I don't know, intelligence level of the programming degrades, and it's not limited just to Food Network, but I don't know. I guess I see it most obviously on Food Network. Like, then the competition shows started in, with the original Iron Chef from Japan, which I think is a great show. I mean, it was. Japan has some really weird entertainment in general, and
Yep.
that show isn't necessarily any exception to that, but it's also um, a very serious cooking competition. Um, and so I don't know. I think it was just the right blend of entertainment and education in that way. But then we had to Americanize it and do our own version, and then like 50 other competition-based shows happened, and you had Chopped, which was basically the condensed Iron Chef, except they upped the goof factor by putting like completely absurd ingredients into the list of things that the contestants had to utilize. Um, but still, to me, that's still leaning more towards serious competition.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't know. You from there you start seeing these shows that are basically game shows about food. You have
Yeah.
this ridiculous show called Cutthroat Kitchen, hosted by Alton Brown, who used to have a fantastic show called Good Eats, which was like one of the best food shows ever.
Mhm.
Um, super educational, kind of like Mr. Wizard meets Julia Child or something.
Nice.
But now he's basically a game show host. It's a silly show about like what can we like we have four chefs who are competing against each other, but what can they do to sabotage each other? Like there was one episode recently I saw the commercial for where they had to cook using a glove that had a miniature fork on one finger and a miniature spoon on another finger. Just
Huh.
what the fuck is that? Like, and
That makes no sense. I don't
no.
even.
And then they still get judged at the end on like the quality and all the normal conventional criteria, plating and presentation. Like, how are you gonna properly present something when you've had to cut it with a fucking Play-Doh knife that's like an inch long? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I had no interest in that show, but I think this show that I came across, this Kitchen Casino, kind of is the next evolutionary stage where it's just outright just ridiculous. It's just people playing like fucking roulette and craps or whatever about what they're gonna have to cook, and my head just exploded.
Hmm.
Like, kitchen casino. I mean, those words don't even go together.
I guess lucky me, I don't actually watch the Food Network,
Yeah.
but I would not be interested in that show either. I mean, I would probably see it, like Kitchen Casino. What the heck is that? And I'd like go to like the info to see it, and then I would just skip over it. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I know exactly what I would do. Um, yeah, man, I have. We'll continue if you have
Well,
anything. I don't,
I find
yeah.
myself wishing that I had the digital cable or whatever, like the info capability. Because I
Yeah.
just have the regular old that you have to flip through, and like if you want to know what's on, you have to go back to the TV Guide channel. Remember
Yeah.
that?
Yes.
um, which I never used. Still, I mean, whatever.
Well, it sucks 'cause you had to watch it go like you
Yeah,
had to sit, you're waiting and waiting for it to come back to where you want to see it.
right. But yeah, so I mean, it's part of a trend that is the whole reason I pulled the plug on TV to begin with and didn't miss it for 5 years. I mean, it's not just Food Network; it's everything. It's TLC, the Learning Channel, going from all kinds of educational documentary type programs about a plethora of topics. None of them I don't think ever included trailer trash little girls and their disgusting mothers, like you know marrying pedophiles and whoring out their kid to make money off. I don't know, like what the fuck. The History Channel is one of the worst offenders as well. All kinds of interesting shows about older wars, or I remember watching like how things are made on there, and just all kinds of documentaries and stuff have given away to ice road truckers and
Pawn Stars.
yeah, like dudes who are arguing while they're logging, dudes who are arguing while they're fighting fires, dudes who are arguing while they're fucking picking up trash. I mean, it's like
that's insane.
It's all insane.
It's the classic downfall. I mean, I think the biggest offender of that was MTV. Like, you cannot seriously tell me that that's still called music television. Like what? I mean, I remember an old rant I heard from Lewis Black where he was like going off on music videos, because he's like, listen, people, he's like, music goes in your ear. He's like, TV goes into your eye, and like how it was just like not even like it doesn't make sense to make a music video,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think they're the biggest offender of that too. Just like going from something that was, I mean, every once in a while they had a cool game show on there. Like, you remember that show Remote Control, where they sat in the recliners? I mean, that was like on from like 4:30 to 5, and then they had music videos afterwards. So I mean, it wasn't like a big deal, but all of a sudden it was like the real world. It was the road rules. It was the real world road rules challenge. It was just kept going on and on. And now it's like, oh, I'm a pregnant teenager. Oh, I'm a pregnant teenager again. Oh, this is my third time I've had a baby as a pregnant teenager show. Yay, watch me. Woo! It's like, okay. I mean, I get those are real issues, but not in the manner of which you're, presenting them to us,
Right.
But, oh my God, TLC though. I mean, like that. Here's my bone to pick with that. Like, yes, you referred to Honey Boo Boo, I think is what you're talking about. Just a train wreck of a show. And I will admit that, yes, we watched it every once in a while, being my wife and I. But yeah, what's they're learning about it? I mean, you learn that there are people out in the world that are just completely clueless and can't talk. Like, every time they would say something on that show, they had to put subtitles on the bottom of it.
Right.
Because they're like, and you're like, what did she say? I tried to do it one time where I didn't look at the TV, and I was listening to them to see if I could figure out what they were saying, and like half the time I couldn't. I was just like, wow, this is insane. We watched, I try not to watch it anymore, but there's that 19 Kids and Counting show about the Duggar family. I don't really like agree with their lifestyle and like what they do for, marriage and stuff like that. I'm not going to really get into it too much, but they've all of a sudden have, and as you know, they've had a string of shows about little people. There was like that show, Little People, Big World, about that couple that were just, little people trying to make it in the world. There was another one, I think it was called The Little Couple. Now they have a show out called My Little Family, which is all 5. And then because it was funny, we saw a commercial for it, and like the little boy on that show is actually really cute and funny. But they have another show coming out called It's Another Little People Show. And I'm like, I don't understand why there are so many little people shows. Like, I mean, I get like, there's probably some form of like segregation or, not racism, but you know what I mean? Like just any kind of prejudice against them in society, I'm sure. Just like it's been, I'm sure they've had to make strides, just like, people of different ethnicities, women, things like that.
Right.
But one thing, the glaring oxymoron of the show was that we were watching My Little Family, and they go to Washington, D.C. To see some sights. They live in like Annapolis, Maryland. And she was out there, and people were like taking pictures of them. And she was like, stop taking pictures. No pictures, please, stop. And I'm like, but you have a camera following you around, and you're going to be on a TV show. I'm like, what's the difference?
Right.
If someone's taking a picture of you, and I get it. Like, you don't want to be treated like you're less of a person just because you have a physical, deformity. I mean, I guess you could say it like that. I mean, I don't mean to be insensitive about it, but just because you're a little person, like, yeah, you don't want to be treated like a little person. You want to be treated like a normal person. Like, that's what anybody who's anybody wants to be treated like. But I'm like, you're not. I don't know if you're doing it for the sake of education or are you being exploited and you're only doing it for money. Like it doesn't
Right.
make any sense to me. So that's kind of like my bone to pick with TLC is that like they do this with all these like things and like the Duggars. It's like the people on that show even said like we don't even really watch TV that much. I'm like, so why are you on a TV show?
Yeah.
Like, what is this teaching me? This is not teaching me anything. Like, it's just that's all it is. Your weird different lifestyle is being exploited by a television network
Yeah.
for ratings, and so that they can make money. And yeah, they're probably paying you for it too. You know what I mean? It's just like it doesn't make any sense to me. So
Well, I think with those things, I think of course, they grow out of, in my opinion, sort of more legitimate educational shows or specials. Really, like they both come from what were at the time kind of one-off specials about,
right, they were.
and then
Yeah.
like I think it was the same thing with that fucking John and Kate nonsense.
Yeah,
Like, oh my
yeah,
god, this
they're on
lady had
TLC.
8 babies or whatever. Um, make a documentary, and then like all these things start out as a documentary that are sort of educational about these people that have pretty different, than I guess what's considered average lifestyles, and then the reality show people get involved, and oh my god, let's keep this going, and
Mm.
these specials probably had like our best ratings in last quarter. How can we replicate that so it's basically endless, and it just
Mm.
turns it into a nightmare. uh,
Well, like the Duggar show, I do remember years ago, I saw their one-off special.
yeah.
Basically, I think at the time, I think they only had like 14 or 15 kids at the time, which is just appalling to say anyway. But it was basically a show about how they were going to build their house for them because there were 15 or so kids and like they just didn't have a house on the market anywhere that had the capacity
Right.
to do their laundry, to have their kitchen. And that was actually a pretty interesting special. Aside the fact they had so many kids, it's like, wow, that's shocking. But it was neat to show, okay, this is like our industrial laundry room. Here's how we're going to build it. It was actually kind of interesting. I get it. And then it turned into like one of those things where, a year later, they would say, oh, remember that family that built that big house? Let's check in on them and see how it's going. So they do like a half an hour special about, oh, yeah, we've really acclimated to our life here. And then now it's a show on every week where they just follow them around with their cameras. And it's like, okay, that completely got blown out of proportion, but thank you.
Right. It's just to keep
Yeah.
it going. I don't know.
It's not even
That's
interesting. It's like, yeah, another girl's getting married this season. Ooh.
right.
You have like 12 girls. They're all going to get married.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And they all can't fucking even hold hands without their parents being in the room. It's great.
Well,
Like,
I mean, I'll tell you this right now. I like the fact that they're kind of like, a family that has family values and, they don't, they try not to, I mean, they try to be good people, and that's great. I just don't agree with the whole, yeah, like they don't want, you basically have to get permission to date somebody. While you're dating, you can only side hug, and then
come on.
you can't really touch. Okay, like the one, you probably you've probably seen him in like People magazine or something. Jill, who's like their second oldest daughter, got married last season. And they're having a baby and blah 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 blah.
Right.
Basically, they couldn't do anything until they got engaged, and when they got engaged, they chose to hold hands. So basically, he can only side hug her, and then they hold hands until they're married, and then they don't kiss until they get married for the first time, or like you may now kiss the bride. That's the first time they kiss. And then yeah, she's pregnant like 5 weeks later. Well, like no shit, she's pregnant 5 weeks later because you've been suppressing your natural urge to have sex with each other, and
right.
as soon as you get married, you're like and then you get pregnant. It's like, well, if you want to get pregnant, that's fine, but it's obvious why it happens. But hey, whatever. One thing I do have a bone to pick about them though, their oldest son is like a member of the American Family Council, which is kind of like classified as a hate group, basically for their anti gay, lesbian, marriage equality views and things like that. They're actually qualified as a hate group, and they were trying to pass some local ordinance in their town letting transgender people use the bathroom of the sex that they identify with, and Michelle Duggar wasn't going to have any of that, so they did some kind of robocalling scare campaign, fear-mongering campaign to have, like, strike down the ordinance, and she called people like that, like, child molesters or something like that, and it was just terrible, like, how ignorant that view is,
Right.
And of course it goes back to, like, their deeply seated religious beliefs and stuff, which is, like, fine, you can be religious, whatever, but I think you're kind of perverting what you really stand for in that case. So I kind of boycotted the show. So now if like it's on and like, someone wants to watch it, I'll just read a book or something and try not to listen. But yeah, that's the same thing. And my biggest bone to pick is just this constant little people shows. It's like, it's getting to the point where it's not like, I think it's just exploitation and it's not right, And it's not like I have anything against little people. I have nothing against little people. It's just the fact that like I'm bombarded with it on this station and there's no reason to be. Like, it's complete exploitation. But whatever.
Should really just be called the Sideshow Channel at this point. I mean,
yeah, really, that's what it is, and it's like, it's stupid. Whatever. Sorry, I went on a rant on TLC, but yeah, Food Network, like you're right. I mean, I remember.
They're all evil.
I mean, I remember how it started. I mean, I remember Emerald. Like, that was an awesome show, and it was one of a kind, and he was like, he had a little bit of Cajun flair, bam, bam, always doing crazy stuff, and it was like, that's awesome, but he cooks really good,
Right.
And like you said, it was instructional, like you learned something, and now it's like, yeah, Kitchen Casino, woo.
Yeah, it's just game. It's just a game show. It's just I don't know. It's like to watch people struggle.
Well, you know what it is? It's freaking meshing, the two biggest loves of Americans right now. Eating gluttonous amounts of food to gambling and whatever games and stuff like that.
Absolutely, so. two of the biggest, most dangerous addictions that we know as a nation fused into one fun-filled half hour of entertainment programming
on television. So you're sitting your fat ass on the couch watching that. All right.
Exactly.
Man.
So, Star Wars.
So, no, wait, I got one more thing before Star Wars. I want to get your opinion on this. This is like one of those classic examples when you watch something. It's not really watching. I'll explain in a minute. Where you just know what the outcome of something's going to be because it's just so incredibly stupid. Okay, so there's a radio station up in the greater capital region. I'm not going to tell you the actual station identification or anything like that, but this radio station's basically had an identity crisis over the last couple of years. I don't remember what it started out as. I think it was just like a regular run-of-the-mill top 40 station. And then at one point a couple of years ago, they kind of went to basically like an all 90s station, which I thought was a pretty good idea. They played a lot of stuff that like we listened to growing up, and it was pretty cool and nostalgic. Right. But it's basically all 90s. Okay. Then it's like, well, that's not working out. So then they went to another top 40 station. Okay, which is just like whatever. What made it slightly different was that most like popular top 40 stations you hear now will play like all of the crap that's like new.
Yeah.
They did that, but every once in a while they'd throw in like a pop song from maybe like 10 years ago that you haven't heard in a while, and it's a little bit more easy on the ears because you haven't heard it over and over and over and over all day when you're trying to listen to the radio. So it's slightly different.
Right.
But it was basically the same thing. It was a top 40 station. So about a month ago, it's a little cold outside. I go out to start my car. I actually had it on that station when I came home. Turn the car on. And I get out because I'm going to go like scrape my windshield or something, and I hear Christmas music coming out of the radio. Right. So I stopped for a second. I'm like, this is weird. And it kept going. So I was like, it was one of those times where obviously I knew this didn't happen, but I kind of stood up. I'm like, did I just go through like a time warp? Because it was snowing. And, I started hearing Christmas music. I'm like, is this like one of those It's a Wonderful Life moments where I'm going to go back in time and see what life's like without me or something? But it obviously didn't.
Damn it.
But I know, I was like, damn it. But they, I know, I wanted to live a movie so bad. But I kept listening, and I'm like, they're not stopping this Christmas song. Like, what the hell's going on? Next song that came on was another Christmas song. So I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I just put in a CD, and I went to work. So I was watching, I think we were watching, like, Seinfeld in syndication. So, it's on one of those local stations. And, of course, they do their stupid, like, little, tonight at 11, watch us, scare you,
Right.
But it was like, yeah. But one of the headlines was, local radio station goes to all your Christmas songs. And
What
I'm
the
like,
fuck?
I'm not even kidding. Not even kidding. So I'm like, you know what, honey? Let's stay up till 10:30 and watch this and see what happens. And they, no kidding, went to this radio station. They had changed to a 24-hour, 7-day a week, 365-day a year, all Christmas music station. And I was just like, that has got to be the stupidest thing that I've ever heard of. I mean, like, that I've ever lived. Like, I've seen some pretty stupid things in my day, but I don't know who thought that that was a good idea. Like, there's no way that that was a good idea. What are your thoughts about that?
Ah!
Exactly. You don't have a thought because you shouldn't have a thought. It's stupid.
Well, actually, it's kind of timely because within the last day or two, just out of nowhere, I found myself kind of thinking about. Well, I've noticed that anytime you go into a major retail store, they put up whatever the next event or holidays merchandise is as soon as they possibly fucking can. And at the stroke of midnight on the day of that holiday, they're already putting the next one. And I've begun to notice that no matter what it is, all of a sudden now there are always peeps for it, with the appropriate theme.
Ew.
And I've kind of started noticing this with other things. And I'm just like, I don't know, I'm thinking to myself, like, they're probably pushing towards making all of these, I don't know, making all these, like, special candies, special products, these, like, seasonal products, just available all the time, so that they're not special anymore. Whether that's accomplished through taking that original product and sort of tweaking it to fit whatever the seasonal event is, or just saying fuck it and just making the normal one available all year round instead of seasonally. It just seems like, yeah, we're headed more and more towards well, shit, we make money off this once a year, why shouldn't we make money off this all year?
Yeah.
So, like, when everything's fucking special, nothing's special.
Well, Peeps were originally Easter, right?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, so what was it, like St. Patty's Day Peeps or
St.
something?
Patty's Day Peeps, they've got Christmas Peeps, they've got Halloween Peeps.
Well,
they've got Peeps for Adam Marcy's birthday.
Yes. What do they look like? Why would they even do that?
It's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, no, it's just a amalgam of crap. Because that's what
it's like every other holiday's Peeps wadded, and put in the microwave.
Because they know I hate it. Well, that's funny. Because I have my thoughts on St. Patty's Day too, and I'm actually ashamed of myself. But well, anyway, back to the radio station.
Right.
Okay, so as you would guess, about 2 weeks later, they weren't having that shit anymore. They must have had
Really?
like a terrible public outcry, which I wish I could have been a part of. But they changed it now. It's called like Name Redacted Rewind. And they play like basically 80s and 90s. It's actually a delightful station because I do like reliving my 80s and 90s nostalgia. So that's good. I mean, I actually heard like 3 or 4 songs in a row that I liked on the way home from work the other night. I was like, yes, this is awesome. But yeah, I can't even fathom who thought that would be a good idea. And they actually interviewed people at the radio station, and they interviewed people on the street, and they were like, I don't really like Christmas music unless it's Christmas, which is like what normal people would feel like. Even then, I'm not really a big fan of Christmas music. I do like a few Christmas songs, but yeah.
I want a copy of the minutes from the meeting where that was determined to be the direction they should pursue.
Yeah,
and
I know. I don't.
Well, it's like they're saying, like, people look after about 2 days. Generally, people start bitching about all the Christmas music on the radio, in the stores, whatever. What made them think that people were going to be like, you know what? I guess it's probably just that I don't hear it enough. I'm just not used to it. Like, what made them think people were going to like that 24/7, 365? I don't know. It's crazy. Hopefully somebody got fired for that.
Probably. It wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility. I mean, it only lasted 2 weeks anyways. And
right.
Someone burned that one, as they rightfully should have. Because that's just a stupid idea. And they had enough people buy into it that they actually did change it. So I'm like, I'd rather listen to whatever that's not that. I can't even think of anything that's dumb. Oh my god, it's just like it's a terrible idea. So right. Unfortunately, it was short lived.
Justice.
Speaking of St. Patty's Day. Well, yeah, I mean that's like instant karma almost.
Exactly.
Like, we're stupid. Yep, your station's off the air. Speaking of St. Patty's Day, though, I'm kind of ashamed because like St. Patty's Day was like always one of my favorite holidays. But like I realized that it's been just another thing that's been going through some form of American perversion, you know. And I mean, I guess I kind of always wondered what people in Ireland did on St. Patty's Day because, you know, we're all like, oh, I'm Irish today, it's St. Patty's Day. Well, I actually read on Huffington Post a bunch of things. There's like 10 things you didn't know about St. Patty's Day. And it's pretty stupid because basically that's what it was. It was like how, you know, Americans have turned it into basically a drinking holiday and an excuse to get drunk and not go to work the next day. And, you know, I always liked St. Patty's Day. I thought it was a great day to go party. And, you know, I did the same thing. I would take a day off of work, you know, the day after every year. I did it like 3 or 4 years in a row. I took the day after off so that I could like nurse my hangover and not have to go to work.
Right.
But yeah, it's not even close to like what they do in Ireland. For one, St. Patrick's Day, May 17th, is the day that St. Patrick actually died. So way to go, dickheads. Right. You're celebrating the day he died, basically.
If Christmas was on the date of the crucifixion
color, I guess. Yeah, I know, right? His official color is blue, so it has nothing to do with being Irish or green. Apparently, St. Patrick wasn't even born in Ireland. He was born in England or Wales or something like that. On and on and on and on. And, you know, I guess for up until 1970, St. Patrick's Day was a dry holiday in Ireland. Like, you couldn't buy alcohol on St. Patrick's Day in Ireland because it's basically a religious holiday is what it is. And yeah, there's so much other, and like I guess like corned beef and cabbage isn't even a traditional Irish dish, but everyone's like, oh, gotta get corned beef today. And I honestly didn't even know that. And I'm like, wow, I guess that's kind of dumb then. Why would, you know, so it's just like these weird things that we've made up basically. Right. About St. Patrick's Day, and now we have green freaking peeps on St. Patrick's Day. Like, what? No, you know, like they have like little cute little like leprechaun hats or something. Like, I don't know, man. Like,
as Don King would say, only in America.
Yep, exactly.
I read that. I mean, I read something that sort of, somewhat makes sense when you follow like the path backwards as to how it got at least to be such a debauchery associated holiday. I read that part of the thing originally was that it was a time for people to sort of temporarily hit the pause button on their Lenten sacrifices and, you know, to eat and drink the things that they weren't supposed to be consuming at that point. So it just kind of exploded from that, I guess. But I mean, everything has a more somber religious root, I feel, and for some reason we just take it into the realm of ridiculous consumption and, you know, behavior. Look at Mardi Gras. You think that was about fucking showing tits to get plastic beads and get destroyed, like obliterated drunk every fucking year? I doubt it. I don't have the history behind it, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't that. I mean, every occasion, every special occasion, every holiday has become almost the same thing. I mean, New Year's is St. Patrick's Day at a different time of the year. Same with Mardi Gras. Same with fucking, I mean, shit, even people, you know, even Thanksgiving and Christmas, like, everybody comes back into their hometown and goes out to the bar because they can't stand being around their family, you know?
I think I only did that once when when I came back. You know, I think it was like we did that like on Christmas or Thanksgiving night or something. I don't remember, but yeah. But anyway, yeah. Well, I mean, it's the same thing. Like, if you think about Christmas, I mean, you know, that's typically a religious holiday, and there's just rampant commercialization.
Yeah, for sure.
Know? Like, they use freaking 4th of July and Memorial Day to
4th of July,
you know, do a furniture sale blowout or a used car blowout. It's like, it's the freaking Memorial Day. It's not. And that's like a day that you're supposed to observe of all the people that have been like in the armed forces that have died in a war protecting, you know, our country or whatever. Right. And it's like, oh, well, let's have a sale. Oh, it's the first day of summer. Woohoo! It's like, no, it's a somber holiday, you know, like, give me a break, man. But I guess I did read for St. Patrick's Day, it kind of started to become the way it was because, you know, like in the early to mid 1800s, there were a lot of Irish immigrants in the country. Right. And, you know, a lot of times they were, you know, they were persecuted for being different. You know, I mean, they were an immigrant population. They weren't, you know, a native, so to speak. And it was a time for them to, you know, have some solidarity with one another and get together for a holiday and celebrate being Irish. And I think that's where it kind of snowballed into what it is today.
Right.
So that part makes sense. But yeah, I mean, just the rampant, everybody's Irish on St. Patrick's Day. Ha ha ha! Get drunk and kiss me.
Yeah.
Like new. Now, but the thing is, though, I do have a fond memory. The last St. Patrick's Day I actually went out and partied was I think was like the point that my wife and I actually started to come together and start to have a liking to one another and eventually start dating. So yeah, everybody can go if they want to. But it is a fond memory of that St. Patrick's Day. But yeah, we haven't done anything like that since then. So. But now I'm ashamed of myself for all those years. I was like, oh, St. Patrick's Day, yeah, I'm just a typical idiot American. So I admitted it right on our show.
She gave you a half of her shamrock-shaped peep, didn't she?
Yuck.
And you probably threw it in the garbage.
Well, I do remember she ended up wearing, I had like a leather wrist cuff and like a newsboy hat kind of thing that she basically took from me and wore that. And then she went home. And when I woke up hungover, she texted me, like, oh, I have your artifacts that I took from you last night. And I do remember we both went up to my apartment because we were going to throw up because we've been drinking too much. But we ended up eating some rolls that were just like there, and we felt better. And basically round 2 happened after that. Went out and drank some more. So not quite a puke and rally, but almost a puke and rally. So
Aaron go bra then.
Aaron go bra. Pog Mathelman, which I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but I think it means like kiss my ass or something. Anyway, yeah. So that was all stemming from radio station talk. So I'm happy to say though that ridiculousness has stopped.
In your personal life? Oh,
the Christmas station. Yeah, we kind of went off on that. We always do that though. We bring up something that reminds us of something, and hey, it's fine. It's our freaking show. We can do whatever we want.
It's all connected anyway.
Yeah, New York telephone. Boom.
Yes. I think you just dated us a bit. You wow, in one sentence you dated us and regionalized us.
We're all connected. New York telephone. Does that even exist anymore?
Nope.
Didn't think so.
I'm pretty sure Verizon swallowed that up.
Yeah, or AT&T, one of those bastards.
Yeah.
Shh, I have Verizon.
I have neither, although my ever more breaking phone uses Verizon towers, so
that's how Verizon got a hold on it too, and that's why they have the best network. They like basically rent towers from other people who then they rent towers. It's like a vicious cycle of renting cell phone towers, I guess.
And they tell 2 friends, and they tell 2 friends, and so on, and so on.
This is going to be the episode where you and I are laughing the most, I think, because I think we're just, I don't know, whatever. Well, I only use Verizon because I get an employee discount from where I work, so right. I get a pretty good chunk of my data plan, which is another piece of bullshit, like paying for data. Like, you gotta be kidding me. Whatever.
Oh, I just got a message from the TLC network folks saying that laughter is trending, so we're good.
Okay. What are you doing behind the scenes? I don't even... Did you, contact them or something? What are you talking about?
I've said too much.
Oh, damn it.
Stonewall. So I guess maybe we should desperately search for a Star Wars segue.
Oh, yeah, segues. Yeah, we're not really good at those yet.
Yeah.
I like Star Wars. Did you know that? Good. Let's talk about it. Ha ha ha. Well, actually, the good segue would have been when we were talking about the release dates of things, because there were some announcements about some other Star Wars movies being released. So you know what? Let's just do it.
Do it.
I actually have quite a few talking points here. Some will be quick hitters. Others we can extrapolate on a little bit. So I guess as you know, the Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, will be released December 18th of this year. Apparently December of next year, 2016, will be the first Star Wars spin-off movie, and they have announced the title of it. Have you heard of this yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just saw a little blurb about it, but that's about it, really.
Yep. It is called Rogue One. So you can kind of, any diehard Star Wars fan could probably draw some conclusions from that title. But yeah, that will be released December. I guess it's going to have kind of a bounty hunter element to it. I'm thinking that it has something to do with the Rogue Squadron, of the fighter pilots that were in most prominently portrayed in The Empire Strikes Back. They were the Snowspeeder Squadron. They were called Rogue. As you know, Rogue leader was Luke Skywalker, and I believe Rogue One was Wedge Antilles. So it could be a spinoff about Wedge, everybody's favorite rebel pilot. Have you heard anything else about that?
No, I saw the title and I initially assumed that as well, but then I thought more about it and I'm starting to wonder if it's not just meant like is it referring to that or is it just talking about a rogue one? Like somebody who went
Yeah.
rogue. You know, it's like hmm.
Well, that's why they've had rumors that they're going to do a Boba Fett spinoff.
That'd be sweet.
I think a lot. I mean, like these are just speculations and rumors, of course. But I heard that they wanted to kind of like show that because, as you know, in the prequels, Boba Fett ends up being like Jango Fett's like clone son that is going to
Right.
grow up in a normal as a normal person, which would explain why he shows up, which is like one of the dumbest freaking things they ever did.
Yeah.
But they're going to say that there was a rumor that another bounty hunter actually kills Boba Fett and takes his armor and becomes Boba Fett. So I think that would be cool if they did it because then that would, of course, that's just a reactionary movie too about like, oh, we just spoiled one of the most popular characters of ever by making him into be the clone son, so we got to fix that somehow, everybody. But I mean, I kind of give them props that that's what they're going to do. Some other entity has control of Star Wars now, and if they're going to try to, make the mistakes good, like, go for it. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but at least you'll try.
Yeah.
So yeah, that movie's going to come out in December. We're basically going to have what I heard a new Star Wars movie every year for like 5 or 6 years. They also announced the release date of Star Wars Episode 8. It's going to come out in May of 2017, so they're going back to the being released in May, which was kind of like the tradition of Star Wars movies.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's they announced those 2 release dates, and I'm kind of intrigued if we can get some more info on this Rogue One movie. You're right; it could be the Rogue One as a bounty hunter. It could be some rebel pilots. Who knows? So yeah, those will be coming out. So like I said, we're gonna have about a Star Wars movie about a Star Wars movie, a Star Wars movie about every year. So that's kind of exciting if they do it well, but only time will tell. There's so much anticipation. I keep mentioning these comic books that came out. I still have not gotten the 2nd and 3rd issues of the Star Wars comic book. I actually ordered them on Amazon because I had a gift card left. So I'm still waiting for those. I will get them soon, I promise. I can talk about those, but as you know, like I said, the story for those is between episode 4 and 5, Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back. However, speaking of things that are going to come out, explaining stories and gaps, I'm actually kind of excited about this. They're releasing a book called Aftermath. It's going to be released in September, and it's actually going to talk about what happens after the Battle of Endor in Return of the Jedi.
Interesting.
Which is part of they're doing like a multimedia project, or I wouldn't say multimedia, but it's like a media project. It's called The Road to the Force Awakens. And around September, fall time, they're going to be releasing about 20 different books that are going to talk about stuff that happened in between that's going to lead up to the movie. Now, it's not all like adult novels. It's like Aftermath's going to be an adult novel, so that's going to be the first thing that I read. They're going to have some kids' activity books that have to do with stuff. They're going to have some comics that come out. So they're doing this whole thing to kind of fill in gaps, and I guess they said on the Star Wars official website, pay attention to the characters you see because they might be mentioned in the movie, and they might have some kind of bearing on what happened. So I'm actually really excited about that coming out because that's kind of what everyone's been wondering. Return of the Jedi ends, Darth Vader's dead, Emperor's dead. Shoot 30 years later ahead, and something's going on. It's like, well, what happened?
Right.
So I think that's a really good idea for them to do that. I think they should have done that first, to be honest with you, instead of trying to fill in all these like official stories about stuff that's happened in between the movies that have already happened, and things like that, and doing like even the Rebels TV show that that I've talked about that I like. Even though that leads up right before, episode 4. So it's like, we want to bridge the gap is what I'm kind of thinking instead of, throwing in all this crap that's going on already. But, so yeah, that's going to come out. I would encourage you to read that as well. I think it's going to be good. I wrote it down somewhere, but I forgot it's, who wrote it. It's some, well-known author, screenwriter or something like that that's going to do it. You can probably find it somewhere. If you want to. So yeah, that's going to be coming out. That's going to be cool. What else happened recently? Oh yeah, the season finale of that show Rebels that I just mentioned came out. We've been talking about that. I remember I mentioned the character of Fulcrum, who was kind of like their handler that's giving them their jobs and stuff like that, and how there was some speculation on who that might be.
Right.
Well, the speculation was confirmed. This Fulcrum character is Ahsoka Tano,
Right.
the Jedi apprentice to Anakin Skywalker that left the Order.
Was
Um,
that your guess, or was that something you saw online, or both?
that was
Or
something I saw online, and I was kind of saying, I was kind of on the fence about it. Like, part of me was like, no, I don't want that to be her because I'm sick of it. The other side of me said, it makes sense because like she didn't actually die. What led up to the event was that the Jedi character on the show, Kanan, who is basically their leader, um, got captured by the Inquisitor and Grand Moff Tarkin because Grand Moff Tarkin kind of showed up to start cleaning house because they knew they were having problems on this planet with rebels. So he showed up to kind of take control of the situation. But Kanan actually sacrificed himself so that the rest of the rebels could get away. And they captured him and they began to torture him. With like force lightning, and they strapped him to like one of those torture tables that like Han Solo was on in Empire Strikes Back, and they were basically torturing him, trying to get information out of him about like where are these rebels, and he wouldn't give them up.
right.
So his little apprentice Ezra says, you know what, we got to go find him. And he convinces the other members of the group that they got to rescue him. So they like their little droid they have, who's sort of funny, cute, obvious knockoff of R2D2. His name's Chopper. They like paint him so he looks like an Imperial droid, and they go put him on his ship, and they find out where they're holding him, and they're going to take him to Mustafar. And they were like, oh, yeah, that's where he said Mustafar is where Jedi's go to die. I'm like, that's such a stupid reference, but whatever. So they end up going to the ship that he's being held on. They break in. Ezra gets him out, and of course the Inquisitor confronts him. Now, this is the biggest ripoff of this episode. It was that the final battle between Kanan, Ezra, and the Inquisitor was really close to the final duel in Episode 1 between Darth Maul, Obi-Wan, and Qui-Gon, because like Darth Maul has like the double-sided like the lightsaber. The Inquisitor has a double-bladed lightsaber. You got Master and Apprentice, and they're like, oh, and like he knocks Kanan or the kid off the edge, so Kanan thinks that he's dead. So he goes in like some kind of weird Jedi rage and like ends up killing the Inquisitor. So it looks like the Inquisitor character is dead right now. We don't really know if that's true or not. But anyway, so Ezra's not dead. He's like, oh, you're not dead, and they like run out of the ship, and then the ship's gone because what they show you in a scene before is that Chopper's the only one that's left on their ship. And Fulcrum calls, and Fulcrum's like, who are you? Where's everybody else? And the droid tells her where they are. So when they go out, the ship's gone. And you're like, where's the ship? And then the ship comes back with like a bunch of those like, I think they're called like Corellian Corvettes. It's the same ship that Princess Leia was on in the beginning of Episode 4 when she was being chased by Vader. A bunch of them come and like, get in a fight with the Imperials, and they all escape and leave. So at the end, they come up on the ship, and Bail Organa's on the hologram, and Kanan's like, hey, I remember you. I only met you once. Like, what do you do? And he's like, oh, I got the help of the other rebel cells. And they're like, other cells? Like, did you know about other cells? And they're like, no. And he's like, yeah, we didn't tell you there were other cells so that you couldn't give them up, which makes sense. It's a valuable plot point.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, down the a ladder is someone climbing down, and the one Hera, the girl, is like, oh, it's Fulcrum. And she turns around, she's like, no, she's like, yes, but it's Ahsoka Tano. And I was like, dang it, like it's her, So it's like, crap. So like so now we're gonna figure out where this is gonna go. But it's weird because like I didn't really like the Ahsoka character in the Clone Wars because she was kind of a kid.
Yeah.
But now obviously it's years later. This is more of an adult character, so maybe they'll take it in a direction. But right at the end, Grand Moff Tarkin's coming off the ship, and one of his little right-hand men is there, and he's like, he says to the guy, he's like, yeah, the Emperor sent someone else to help out, and out comes Darth Vader. So I guess Darth Vader is going to be a big part of season 2, hopefully. Oops, I'm sorry, I dropped my pen.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, it's it was okay, but yeah, it was revealed that this character is who Fulcrum was and was helping out the rebels. So this Jedi that you've never heard of until the cartoon of the Clone Wars came out 3 years ago is partly responsible for starting the rebellion. So I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, they got to explain her away somehow.
Right.
Maybe she's going to show up in Episode 7, which is going to be really disappointing. So hopefully not. But
well, I had how soon before Episode 4 is all this stuff again?
I think it's about 4 to 5 years. They said. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it just like obviously it's meant to tie together like the prequels and everything and make everything one big like homogenous pie, but I don't know, for my money and my interest, it's all too, I don't know, it's too you got too many things that are clearly of like the prequel cloth, so to speak, um kind of coming dangerously close to, movies that were made in the 70s, like 70s
Right.
and 80s. I don't know, there's just still something about that, like those two era things that I don't think that they've really pulled off well. When you think back to the end of like Revenge of the Sith, um, I don't know, it's just it doesn't line up well enough for me. And plot wise, all that everything that you're talking about makes sense, but it just still seems too inorganic or something. But I actually did catch some of an episode of that for the first time ever yesterday, I think, or today. Yeah, yesterday. I had a very Billy D. Williams centric week so far. Because
Nice.
I saw a big chunk of, I'm not sure what episode, but he was very, Lando anyway, was very involved in that episode. And he was also on AMC's Comic Book Men, the Kevin Smith show. I don't know if you watched that or not, but
Yeah, I've seen some
uh,
of them. Yep.
it's kind of a guilty pleasure. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not a bad show. Well, as you know, Kevin Smith is a huge Star Wars fan too. He
of
actually got to
course.
go on the set. But yeah, I know what you're saying about. It's almost like it's like the worlds colliding theory,
Yeah.
of George Costanza and Seinfeld. But no, I mean you're right. I mean it's basically it's two different eras, and I think in this case they kind of somehow like they're trying to bridge the gap when I don't really think they need to.
Right.
They don't need to keep putting in these people that were like a part of this world to have any kind of influence on this world. Like I get, like you were saying, like the end of Revenge of the Sith. Yes, Bail Organa is actually a very pivotal character, and
Right.
he ends up being the foster dad of Princess Leia, and that's how she becomes into politics. But you never see him in any of the movies because he dies. He's not. I'm assuming he's on Alderaan when they destroy it. I mean,
Right.
that's what you think. So it's like, yeah, he's not a part of it. Like he has a role and he has a specific purpose, but like you don't have to keep bridging the gap. Like I can see how he would start a rebel cell because he's like the outlaw senator, and his daughter becomes the same type of person. She's helping him, and she kind of takes on the reins of I'm going to control the rebels because that's what I'm going to do. That's what my dad taught me to do. That's what I've been trained to do. It's almost like Obi-Wan watching Luke grow up and then finally taking control and saying I have to train you. This is my job. And it makes
Right.
sense. And of course, Obi-Wan's going to exist in both worlds. That's fine. But you have two different actors that play him. He's basically, Ewan McGregor's part's done, and then you pick up where Alec Guinness, or obviously it's the opposite because Alec Guinness came first. But
Right.
what I'm saying? I get what you're saying. It like the meshing of the worlds is getting dangerously close. And
Yeah.
like I don't know how you're going to explain Anakin Skywalker having an apprentice that like is shunned from the Jedi, but then comes back to be a rebel. Like
Right.
what's it going to be? Is Darth Vader going to eventually kill her? I mean, that would do anything that would make sense to me because he's going to see her and be like, "I remember you. You're my old apprentice. You must die now." And like
Right.
maybe that's what happens. It's almost getting predictable on ways that you can write these people off.
Yeah.
Like same thing with like Kanan being this Jedi character. Where was he the whole time? If he started the Rebel Alliance, wouldn't you think that if he was alive, he would have been like, "Oh, Luke, nice to meet you. Oh, you're going to be the new Jedi." I mean, like you'd think that like they would be a part of this. So like they've got to something has to happen to them. There has to be some kind of demise. But the way that the show is, it's a kids show
Right.
first and foremost. So I don't see them just like randomly killing people
Yeah, it's touchy.
off. It's just kind of weird. Like they're gonna just say, "Oh, they were on this part of the galaxy." Like we've talked about before, how you just kind of can say that, yeah, you only see a small part of what's going on in this vast universe. That
Right.
oh, they were doing something else the whole time. Yeah, whatever.
Well, at what
So,
point also does Bail Organa go from senator to king? I mean, I don't know if he does, but like, isn't that like in order for Leia to be a princess as his daughter, doesn't he have to be King Organa?
yeah, I don't.
You know,
That's another thing I don't get. Why do they call her? Yeah, that's interesting. They never really explain that, and it doesn't even make sense to me now. Huh.
just threw a whole monkey wrench in the works.
Yeah, that's like one of those things where they say like 10 things about the original trilogy that were wrong that nobody ever talks about, and that's
Right.
one of them. I mean, you could say that yeah, her mom was a queen, but even so, she was a former queen, and then she
Right.
was a senator, You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's like she
exactly.
can't be a princess because she used to be a queen. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Interesting. Maybe they'll try to explain that one to you.
Maybe they'll surprise us all, and it'll just all make perfect sense.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's the same thing. Like how Padme was like the. I even hate saying that name
I
in the
know.
same sense as the Star Wars.
So
Padme
goofy.
was a queen that became a senator. Maybe it's like the same thing. Like maybe Bail is like the king, and he just sits in the Senate or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
could be.
Maybe he married a queen. I don't know, but whatever. That's not important. So yeah, Ahsoka Tano's back. So we have to wait till next season. See, I'm wondering too. They were talking about. I read some behind the scenes thing about one of the developers of the show said that it was going to have some bearing on the Force Awakens. So I'm kind of wondering how any of this is going to have a bearing on it. They're probably going to start the new season in the fall, so I'm assuming that they're going to have some episodes that kind of it's probably going to be on that whole Road to the Force Awakens thing. They're going to have something that has to do with it.
Well, do
But
you know of any plans that they have? Like, is the whole series going to take place before Episode 4, or are they going to like jump around and do like eventually have a season that goes after Return of the Jedi or something? I don't know.
yeah, see, I don't know. That's a good point. I haven't really seen too much information about the timeline of it. All I know it's like 4 or 5 years before the events of the first movie. So yeah, that'd be interesting. I mean, maybe they would kind of if they're going to talk about they had something to do that maybe they'll do follow the trend and do a show that happened in between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back or something
Yeah,
like
and I'll
that.
see if they were going to do that. That I mean, I would find that really exciting, and maybe they
Mhm.
could even do like a Shadows of the Empire season or a story arc or
Yeah.
something. That would be fucking sweet.
Yeah, that would be pretty sweet. As long as they do it right, it'd be
Right, right,
sweet.
right.
But yeah, I'm kind of getting sick of the Clone Wars era. I'm
Yeah,
done with it. Like
exactly.
I think it was something that they didn't handle as well. But like you said, the cartoon is one of the things that was the original trilogy that's been handled, just as well. Like I said, I haven't really watched it too much. But some of the things I saw were interesting, like the Lost episodes. So yeah, I got to get back into it. I wish I could do this for a living because I would just sit around all day and watch that and give my review of it. But so yeah, that's that was kind of a big reveal. But I guess it was kind of someone already called it. So
Right.
Ahsoka Tano is back, and she will probably die at the hands of her old master. A couple other things. I was reading some rumors about what the new trailer is going to be, not like the movie, but like what's going to be in the new trailer. They were saying they're actually going to show some of the old characters. You're going to see a scene with like Leia, Han, and Chewie, and R2D2 and stuff's going to be in that. Kind of ties into some rumors about the plot that I've heard that I wanted to get your take on. First thing, I guess the bad guy's name is
Uh-oh.
called Kylo Ren.
Oh yeah,
If
yeah,
if you heard that,
yeah.
he is strikingly similar in looks to Darth Revan, who
Right.
is the character from Knights of the Old Republic, which I talked about being one of my favorite Star Wars properties. That video game that takes place like thousands of years before. So there's kind of a rumor that this might be Darth Revan, like resurrected or something like that. If they do it right, I could see how it would work. Blah blah blah, whatever. But that's one of the things that I didn't even know. Kylo Ren was this character, and I guess like Andy Serkis's character is going to be like his boss kind of thing. So, but you don't really get a glimpse of him yet, and rumor has it that you're not going to really see him in the trailer either.
Yeah.
One big plot point though, and this seems like a feasible rumor. I'm not into like the speculation and stuff like that, but one of the rumors is, we were talking before about some rumors I thought were stupid, like about Luke Skywalker, how he might be to the dark side now or something like that, or he
Yeah.
might be a bad guy, which is a terrible idea. So
Terrible.
I don't think that's going to happen. This one's more feasible. They're saying that he actually did put a self-imposed exile on himself because he's basically become not so much like a Jedi warrior anymore, but like a wizard almost. Like he's so
Right.
powerful in the Force that he realizes that if something bad happens, he's going to be, he's going to hurt someone that he cares about, and that he's just so powerful that he's just like, you know what, I need to go into exile so that you never have to deal with me, kind of thing. And one of the rumors about the trailer is that there's a flashback sequence of like this character talking about what happened to Luke Skywalker, and there's a scene where he's walking away into like a cave, and R2D2 does that like mournful woo woo kind of whistle because like he's
Yeah.
sad that he's leaving. So that's actually one of the most plausible, and I think I'm actually okay with that explanation because it just makes sense that Luke Skywalker is going to be the most powerful Jedi that ever lived. I mean, he basically um, kind of turns into being like the chosen one almost.
Right.
Being the son of Darth Vader, and it makes sense. I mean, Luke Skywalker. He's probably one of the most recognizable characters, and you want to he's the hero. And he just becomes really powerful in the Force, which you'd expect him to do after 30 years of being a Jedi. He's this all-knowing like wizard type character, and they're saying that this part kind of stinks. They're kind of saying that it's more of like an extended cameo for him to be in this movie.
Yeah.
Like he's not really like a main role, and he really doesn't show up till near the end of the movie prominently, which is kind of sad, but it makes kind of sense. But I guess like the whole thing is that there's some kind of galactic evil that has shown its face, and the only person that can stop it is Luke Skywalker. So naturally, he has to come out of exile,
Right.
because he's put himself in this self-imposed exile. So what do you think about that rumor? Do you think that's like cool? Do you think that's like plausible? Like,
first of all, it's not surprising. Um, for me, as a diehard original trilogy fan, um, I would prefer the whole, you know, new trilogy to be the continuing adventures of the original characters. I can understand that that's not going to happen. It's not necessarily realistic for whatever reason, whether it be, you know, they want to capture the young market or whatever, or they want to, the actors themselves aren't really looking to do all that much heavy lifting. Um, I don't know. I mean, whatever. Everything that you just talked about, it makes sense. I could see it happening. Um, I guess I'd prefer at least the first movie, number seven, to be, original character heavy and sort of taper off towards the end to like ease you into the pool of new people or whatever. But it doesn't sound like that's gonna happen either. So I mean, I don't know. I get it, but like, I don't know. I mean, it would be nice to see, as much original people as you can get, I guess.
well, yeah, that's part of the rumor is that it's an extended cameo. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not confirmed.
Right.
Um,
I could
and
see it being very realistically true, though.
yeah, I mean, I think an extended cameo is better than a cameo. But also, we know that Mark Hamill like hired a personal trainer to get in shape, so he's going to be doing something in the
Yeah,
movie.
that's true.
But one of the rumors I did hear, I hate saying all these rumors because I'm not like a gossip fiend, but here I am talking about the Star Wars stuff. It's actually, I guess, Han Solo is going to be basically the main character of this movie. He has a huge role
Yeah.
and is featured very prominently in the movie, which I think is great. Because he's one of everybody's favorite characters too. And like I said, arguably one of the most recognizable characters alongside Luke from the original trilogy. But
Yeah.
there's going to be, I guess, he figures prominently into it because he's the one that's going to go out and find Luke because he runs into these two other protagonists, and I'm guessing that John Boyega's character is going to be kind of like the new hero of this trilogy. Like he's going to kind of be thrown into it at the end.
Right.
I guess like he's going to fight the Kylo Ren character in a duel. So I'm wondering, the only thing that if Luke's going to be an extended cameo character, I just hope that it's going to happen through all the movies. Like, I don't want this to be like some movie where he comes out of this exile to confront this evil, and then he ends up like sacrificing himself to die.
Yeah, that's sort of where I was gonna go with my response too. Yeah, it's a fear of
Yeah, I mean that would be disappointing. I think,
and it'd be too much of a rehash of the original of Episode 4 anyway, with Obi-Wan and stuff.
Right. Basically, like he becomes Obi-Wan and then just has to sacrifice himself because he can't defeat them, whatever. I hope not. And I think I heard a rumor that there's going to be a flashback scene with Darth Vader in it too. I don't think David Prowse is going to be in the suit though. I think the rumor has it it's a certain WWE wrestler that they're going to put in the suit and do it. I'm thinking probably Kane or the Undertaker or someone large like that. I don't know if that's true or not, but yeah, I guess like part of the trailer is going to be. I apologize for my ignorance. What is the woman that won the Best Actress for 12 Years a Slave? What's her name? Lupita something?
Oh yeah. See, I'm ignorant too.
Yeah.
I remember hearing about it, but I'm blanking
I feel
on
bad.
it too.
But I guess she's going to be voicing over most of the new trailer, explaining to John Boyega's character and Daisy Ridley's character what happened to Luke Skywalker, and that's what the trailer is going to be. And I guess like they said that a rumor is the new trailer is gonna have C-3PO in like some kind of weird rebel command center with like Princess Leia is gonna be there because she's obviously still a character and probably head of the rebellion. I mean, they're probably not even the rebellion at this point. They're probably like the legitimate government of the galaxy at this point. I wouldn't think that
Right.
they're still considered rebels, but and I guess the Oscar Isaac's character Poe Cameron is supposed to be kind of like take the reins from Han Solo, and he's going to give him like the Millennium Falcon or something like that. But I'm just hoping that this isn't just like a one and done, for the original cast. I think that's one. I want them to be in the movies too. So
my fear is that it is. It'll be awesome if it's not. But part of the other with Lupita Nyong'o or something, by the way.
Right. I'm sorry.
Part of the other thing I have that relates specifically to the Luke Skywalker character is, maybe people think I'm crazy, but I always felt cheated out of like a fully realized Luke Skywalker in the original trilogy. Like the first one, you see him, discovered and just introduced to the idea of the Force and becoming a Jedi and all that. And yeah, he's like the hero, but he doesn't really do much. And then in Empire, he's still like on the journey to become what he's going to become, and there's so much other shit going on. Like you just keep getting tastes of what the eventuality will be. Return of the Jedi, he's supposed to be like a fully realized, like your skills are complete Jedi, but I mean, he only really shows off just a little bit in the beginning with the Jabba the Hutt stuff when he rescues everybody, which I just thought was like very small. And then like the fight at the end with Darth Vader, but I don't know, maybe it's a product of its time and it wasn't as grandiose as like you would have thought, but I want to see Luke Skywalker like owning people. It's just like being a force to be like, holy fuck, this guy is like, you don't want to fuck with this guy, that kind of stuff. I just want to see Luke Skywalker just devastating opponents and shit,
Maybe that might be a little out of the realm.
Right, but you know what I mean? Like, I want him to be much more in control and powerful.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I definitely agree with that. I think like what you see from him is basically it's like always some journey of discovery for him. Like you said, the first one he's introduced. Second one I think was probably the most pivotal moment in his life. Really, was that first duel with Darth Vader, where he actually at one point held his own against like this very powerful Sith Lord, and then it's revealed that it's his father. You know what I mean? It's like, what? That's like crazy. And you're right. You don't really see a lot. I guess like the scene in the beginning of Return of the Jedi is really the only time you see him just like wreak havoc. Like no one touches him except that one guy that shoots him in the hand.
Right.
While he's like, go over there or whatever, and it shoots him. But yeah, no one is even touching that guy. But they're all a bunch of thugs and gangsters, and they're just like, wow. And then that's the thing that a lot of people criticized was that like Boba Fett met his demise so fast and like almost on accident, and it wasn't even Luke that killed him. It was like is Han Solo just like what, and then knocked him off.
It was so unsatisfying.
Yeah, I mean that would have been a cool scene because when Boba Fett shows up, he gets the rope wrapped around him. He's like, oh crap, I'm trapped. So obviously Boba Fett could be like a character that can give him a run for his money. I mean, he's not going to win,
right?
But he could be. That would have been an epic battle, if it was like him one-on-one. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you don't really get to see the true potential, and I think the end of Return of the Jedi was pivotal in the fact that in order to finally defeat Vader, he had to almost tap into the dark side. He used his rage to defeat him, and then he realized what he did, and he rejected the Emperor. It was like, no, I'm a Jedi. I'm not going to be like my father. And that was like his culmination.
Right.
That's where he becomes the Jedi right there. I mean, yeah, he's supposed to be a fully realized Jedi, but even Yoda says he still has to defeat Vader. So you never see the culmination of him being a Jedi ever.
Right.
And the only thing you're going to get now is probably this book that's coming out, the Aftermath book I talked about, where these things that are bridging the gap, they're going to use Luke Skywalker as maybe he kicks some ass in that. But yeah, in the movie, it's gonna be some kind of extended thing. But yeah, hopefully you get to see like a fully realized Luke Skywalker in this movie because, like I said, the rumor's gonna be he's this all powerful wizard that you can just basically look at you
Yeah.
and shoot you across the room.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I mean, I like that. I like the, like you said, he hired a trainer. So I mean, I guess that's a positive indication of something along those lines. I guess I'm just looking for, that all-encompassing, like unable to be challenged screen moment where it's the equivalent, basically, like he just looks at the fucking camera and goes, "I'm Luke fucking Skywalker, bitch," like, like you just don't. I don't know. I just felt like he kind of got cheated out of that as a character in the first three movies because of the the story arc, was more important to the development of his character than maybe the details of how he got there at some parts. So
yeah,
yeah,
I think a lot of that too is it's the classic case of it's not the end, it's the journey was
right,
really what the story was, and it wasn't like, yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying, but yeah, I mean, they have all, like I said, they have this whole redoing, not redoing it, but doing Star Wars again. They have the opportunity to make it right, and like I don't know. I mean, I guess we have to wait. That's the only thing. Gotta wait.
true.
We can talk about it on end until then, but yeah, so it's gonna be cool. Can't wait to see the trailer.
Yeah,
Gotta wait till May 1st. Almost there.
the second you get anybody's face on screen for that, it's gonna, all the theaters are gonna erupt.
Yep. Well, that's another rumor too. At the end of the trailer, you see like a hooded figure, and he like kind of looks up, and it's like the bearded face of Luke Skywalker, and that's gonna be like the cheering moment right there. Like, yeah,
I
it's
just,
Mark Hamill.
I got douche chills just from you saying that.
Boom. Yeah. What? There were some other things too. Yeah, you don't really. I guess I mean, like I said, these are all rumors. I guess like I can't remember. I was reading. It was one of those websites that was like, yeah, I don't even remember what freaking website. I think it was like ZergNet or something like that. Have you heard of that?
Yeah,
They do all those like lists of like, oh, the 10 horror movies you should see before you die thing.
right.
But it was like the 10 rumors about the new trailer or something. I think that's where I read it because like someone that was knew someone on the production staff. I guess the trailer is actually fully produced now. They're just waiting to put it out. So
Right.
I'm sure it'll leak or something. But yeah, I'm trying to think of other rumors that they talked about. I guess like, and we're talking about a trailer. We're not even talking about the
I
movie
know.
itself. I guess like Chewbacca, you can see him in the trailer, like as Han Solo is like walking towards the Millennium Falcon. You can see him in the cockpit do something or whatever. It's like there's Chewie. And I guess like there's going to be some kind of like emotional relationship strife between Han and Leia, and like I guess like Daisy Ridley's reported to be their daughter together or something like that. So one would assume that she could become a Jedi too because Leia is force sensitive or whatever.
Doesn't that make her? Oh wait, no, we've scrapped that, right? I was gonna say, doesn't that make her
What?
Jaina Solo? But then have they scrapped the Solo twins or whatever?
Yeah, her name is I forgot because John Boyega's character is Finn, and hers is some kind of it's like a unisex name. I can't remember it. You can probably find it somewhere online.
Yeah.
I would look up this stuff too, but I'm having problems with my internet on the computer for some reason, so I can't look up that stuff. But yeah, I guess like they're going to show another like nondescript sand duney kind of landscape, but there's going to be like an Imperial Walker like crashed and burning or something like that, like they had defeated it or whatever. Apparently, there's gonna be TIE fighters prominently featured in the trailer. Like, super, I don't care. I want to see people.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, oh, they're gonna take AT-ATs and put them on sand instead of snow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess they're only featured in that one. Well, you remember in Return of the Jedi when the shuttle landed, when Vader was getting Luke, there was an AT-AT on Endor too. So, but you don't see it in the battle.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
just see it around the landing pad or something like that. So, yeah, I guess they're all terrain. I think that's what it stands for too, or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not quite that nerdy yet, but
No, you're right. I believe it's either all-terrain armored transport or all-terrain attack transport.
yeah, something like that. That makes sense.
I'm happy I didn't know decisively.
Right. I'm happy you didn't either, but
What's the actress playing the daughter's name again?
Daisy Ridley.
Oh, she's not even in the main list here. I have to get to the big list out. Daisy Ridley. That's no good.
She's in the teaser trailer. She's the one that's riding that thing that looks like a big fudge pop. You know, that
Right.
speeder or whatever it is.
uh, Interesting. I do not. Oh, there she is. Okay. Oh yeah, Ray. R-E-Y, like Ray Mysterio.
Yeah, Ray. It's Finn and Ray. Ray and
Interesting.
Finn. And then Ray. Yeah, and then like I said, Oscar Isaacs is Poe Cameron or something like that.
Yeah.
Poe's weird. I could deal with Cameron as a Star Wars name, but I don't
It
know. It's
says
just
here
weird.
Dameron with a D.
Is Dameron. Okay, my bad.
That's weird.
I don't even know. Jeez.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is the first time I've even looked at the IMDb page for it, other than, yeah, I think actually, other than to get a release date, I never really looked at it much. Huh.
Well, it's shrouded in so much secret that they're not going to put a lot of stuff on it.
Right. Yeah. I'm fine with it.
Interesting. Yeah, but that's really all the Star Wars rumor that I have for this episode, I think. So yeah, I guess only time will tell.
Sounds good.
We're gonna be like really um, disappointed or like really surprised, I think. So
Yeah, well, probably both. Hopefully more surprised. Hopefully more pleasantly surprised, but
yeah.
I still have
Yeah,
hope.
that's right. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's all I'm saying. I still have hope.
Yes.
Not necessarily a new hope, but hope
But a
nevertheless.
recycled hope that I keep having because every time something comes out, I'm like, yeah, then I'm like, no. I did forget Warwick Davis is going to be in the movie again too, which is awesome. I don't know what he's going to do, but I keep forgetting about Max von Sydow or whatever his name is. Like, I'm kind of wondering what he's going to be. People are saying that he might be a broken Boba Fett because like Boba Fett didn't really die when he fell in the Sarlacc pit because that would just suck. But I don't know. That's right. Adam Driver is supposed to be that Kyle, whatever it was. What did I say? Kylo Ren or something like that.
Yes, / Darth Revan.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, there she is, Ray. Yeah, I'm looking at this too. They only have names of some people. Like not every.
Weird.
Phoenix James is a stormtrooper. Well, don't stop the boat on that one. Holy crap!
Yeah.
Dixie Arnold is playing a soldier. I don't even know who these people are.
Right.
DC Barnes is playing Kata Kolo.
It's like looking through the cast list for Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi back in the '80s and being like, oh, so and so is playing fucking AT-AT Commander, and it's like, oh fuck
what?
yeah.
You're like, Ewok, what the heck is that? Mark Stanley is playing a clan leader. I don't even clan of what? No, that might be Mandalorians. I wonder if they're going to be a prominent fixture in this movie too. They're one of those ones. I mean, because Boba Fett and Jango Fett, their armor, and they're supposedly Mandalorians, is what they are. And I guess like the lore of the Star Wars. I keep dropping that pen. I'm really sorry. I'm making loud noises. I was tapping it earlier that you called me out on off camera. But no, like the Mandalorians were like a kind of like a warlike clan that's always been in the lore of the Star Wars. And in that game I was talking about, Knights of the Republic, they were figured prominently in that, and they were made up of clans. So I'm wondering if they are going to be in this movie too. I wonder how they would fit that in though. That's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't see someone named Maisie Richardson Selly is playing Coruscant. I can't even pronounce any of that. No, that's right. Domhnall Gleeson's in this movie too, and Gwendolyn Christie.
Yeah, I always assumed that was her riding the fudge pop, but guess I was wrong.
Yeah, I think Gwendolyn Christie. She's supposed to be like a high-ranking Imperial person. I think they're saying she might be an Inquisitor, like that Inquisitor on the Rebels show. Did you actually like the show that you watched, the one with Lando?
Yeah, I mean it's okay. Like I thought it was good and looked cool and stuff, but like I said, too much. It still felt too connected to the prequel era. But it was definitely cool to see Lando and all that stuff going on.
Yeah, I think that was one of the better ones for you to watch for the first time because it actually had an original character in it, and he actually did the voice, which is cool. But yeah, what I've said before numerous times, I like it because it is kind of a kid's show, but they do get into the adult territory a little bit, and it's not like inappropriate for the kids, but it's satisfying enough for me, being 33 years old and like Star Wars
Right.
still. So, but all right, yeah. So that's it for that. Hopefully, I'll have those comics done. I can do a review of that and give you some updates on the story next time. But yeah, they should be here tomorrow, I think, in the mail, of course, the day after we record the podcast. But it'll give me some time to read it and get some notes on it and stuff. So
Right.
yeah, any other rumors that come up, we will share with you if we do. Our loyal listeners, we love you.
Sounds good. I guess
Yeah.
that's I guess that's a wrap for episode 11. Peace.
Peace.